So I have a really interesting scene on the table, and that would be 3 hemi-pelvises. One from Anna, one from Z, and one from a plastic model. I thought it would be neat if we kind of drill down on the details of the pelvis, looking back and forth from the plastic model to the real thing, so we can maybe learn more, if you've got a plastic model, from what's in front of you. So come on down to the table and have a look. So we have Anna, and we have Z, and here we have a plastic model. Now, quite a difference, between this plastic model and these, and yet I have to say this is a pretty good plastic model. I actually paid good money for this plastic model, and it was definitely cast from real bone. You can see many of the features that are common to real bone here, but the difference is, well, this one will never go bad on you. It's plastic, and you won't feel strange having someone's bone in your house. I don't keep these donors' bones. These are gifts, and I'll return these gifts to their families as ashes. But this we can keep and study from, so we can compare looking at them and see, here we have the iliac crest, right, the iliac crest. And we have the iliac fossa, Now, one difference between the model, right? If we look, we can't really see through the iliac fossa, right? It's solid plastic, but watch what happens when we look through the bone of Z, right? The bone is very thin there. That's not a mistake or a problem. That's just the character of the bone, that it doesn't have so much stress pulling on it there. What about Anna? Look, we can see through her bone too. It's a common feature of the human bone. And if we look here, look too, at the filled inside of the acetabulum here, we can also see the light coming through. So there are thin areas of bones, but you wouldn't know that from the plastic model. Now let's look at the sacroiliac joint. Now the sacroiliac joint is a joint that's both fibrous, and here's the fibrous area, and it's also a synovial joint, and here's the synovial area. Now on Anna's sacroiliac joint, you can see she has some wear of the cartilage. It's not super shiny, but this is definitely where we saw that action. Now look at here on the plastic model. Oddly, we have these 2 little pegs coming out. That's to hold it into the sacrum part of the pelvis. So we can kind of ignore these sticky outy bits, but you can see the same pattern where there's a V shape here to represent the synovial aspect of the joint, and then you see all of this rough patch here, and that would represent the fibrous portion of the joint. So that's kind of a nice model. They did a good job on that. Now let's look over at Z, same spot, right? But now we see the V is not a V. We just have one bar of the V, the inferior portion of it, and the more anterior portion here has actually become ossified, right? And so you can actually see there are bony trabeculi formed here. The joint there might be a little bit more to it in there, but right over here you can see that the edge of the joint here has a bony growth over it, and this would have gone with the sacrum, but instead it's been pulled away because the bones have grown together and formed a solid mass, and consequently limited the scope of the synovial aspect of the joint. We still have the fibrous portion here. So that's kind of neat. What other features do we see? Let's look at the acetabulum of Anna. Here, can I make that stand up? Let's see, how about like that? I'll turn them all just a little bit so you can see that more clearly. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, well that's something. So if we look at our model, we can see this pattern where there's a little narrowing here, and there's a ridge right here. Well, this has definitely been cast from a real human bone, because from here to here is the pubic bone. The pelvis is formed from 3 bones, and they fuse together as you develop as a child. So the pubic bone, this would be the pubic bone when you palpate down at the end of your belly, beneath your belly button. You're going to feel a bone down there. That's your pubic bone, and here it is, part of your pelvis. It's also forming part of this cup for the head of the femur. So there's our pubic bone, here, all through here. I'm covering it now. That's the pubic bone. The ischium, with the ischial tuberosity here, which is this lumpy part down here, and that forms this aspect of the cup of the acetabulum, and the spine of the ischium here. So the ischial spine, the ischial tuberosity, and the ischial aspect of the acetabulum, all through here, that's our ischium. So we have our ischium and our pubis, and what remains is the ilium up here, also forming part of the acetabulum. So we can see all of these features on our real bones as well. You see, you can spot it now right away. Here's kind of the fusion point of the pubic bone and the ischium. Neat, huh? So pubic bone forming part of the acetabulum. You can see the ridge here, like we saw on the model. So there's your pubic bone. Then here's our ischium with the tuberosity and the spine and part of the cup. There's our ischium, and the remainder is the ilium with this great crest, the iliac crest. So that's kind of cool too, huh? Now what about Z's? What about Z's acetabulum? Let me get them like that. Z's acetabulum is a fake. It's been replaced, so it's very real. It was very real for him, right? Because this is where they seated the head of the femur that they had also replaced. So there was an accident, there was a repair. We basically had a break in the pelvis between the ilium and the ischium. And so it was tied back together with tie plates, and we can only respect the surgeons who bring us back to life as they do with these amazing interventions. And we can see how afterwards the bony growths formed around here and really held things in place. So when our body has a fake material put into it, it tends to embrace it and cover it in connective tissue or bone in this case, and make it very, very permanent, these additions to our body. So there we have it, a little tour of our pelvis, with the advantage of having this neat model along with us. I think it's a good model. I think if you had that model, you could learn a lot about the pelvis. You could see the SI joint on the inside. You could see the surfaces where we have a lot of muscular and tendinous connections, as opposed to the surfaces where there's smooth and kind of movement surfaces. I'm impressed by this model, and I'm super grateful for Anna and Z for giving us the opportunity to learn from real human bone as well. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Z. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to study more with me, go to gilhedley.com. There's a ton of stuff there. Enjoy.